herd or family group will look after the calves, protecting them from any possible harm and intrusion. Elephant society is a matriarchal one, the herd being run by the dominant cow. Young bulls will engage in mock combat from an early age, preparing for great battles that will come in later life. Waving of the ears is the elephant's unique air conditioning system. A lacework of blood vessels in the ears is cooled by the flow of air, thus reducing body temperature. Elephants like to eat the raisin bush, as do the processionary worms. In fact, these worms cannot live without this bush. Here they are on the march, or at least on the crawl, to a new breeding spot in the raisin bushes. They will follow my leader for considerable distances. It may take a little time for this procession of processionary worms to clear the road. Apart from the main camps, there is also a system of private camps throughout Kruger, such as Boulders near Palabora Gate. Private camps are booked by a single group looking for a special setting for a special occasion, be it personal or business. Of course, they are exclusive, and everyone enjoys the privacy, even the little swifts. A vital part of the original vision for Kruger was that the park should be restored to its original condition as far as the diversity of species was concerned. This meant a major program to supplement the dwindling numbers of some species. These included the cheetah, the roan antelope, one of the most endangered species in South Africa, as well as the eland, Africa's largest antelope. And that very shy creature of the African bush, the nyala. The white rhino had become extinct in the area by the end of the last century, and at its very first meeting, the then National Parks Board already discussed reintroducing them to Kruger. A lot of research was needed, and the project eventually got off the ground in 1961, when 2 bulls and 2 cows were translocated from Natalgame reserves to Kruger. More animals were brought in later. The project was a conservation success story, and today there are some 2,200 of these animals in the park. So successful was the rhino project, and so plentiful have they become in Kruger, that animals are now selected for the restocking of other national parks around the country, and even further afield. The most recent reintroduction program was the Liechtenstein's hartebeest, which was brought in from Malawi. The northern section of Kruger has a charm and beauty of its own, and up here is Shingwedzi Camp. The area around the camp is well wooded, a delight for tree spotters and birders alike. That giant of the north, the baobab. Its flowers are pollinated by creatures of the night, such as bats. The baobab often is a complete ecosystem in itself. A little resident, a red-headed weaver, found sanctuary in its leaves. These tourists are engaged in the popular pastime of birding, and this is a good place to do it. A small pool makes fishing quite easy for the storks. The water is drying up, and the fish have nowhere else to go. The catch is huge, and the marabou finds swallowing quite a challenge. What is astounding, he can actually fly off with that heavy load in his tummy. The marabou's handsome brother, the saddle-billed stork, seems to have bitten off more than he can chew. A pied kingfisher shows a little more finesse with his technique, tenderizing his lunch on the dam wall, while Big Brother, a giant kingfisher, looks on, longing for a bite. But in vain. Little Brother wants it all to himself. Another kingfisher, a brown-hooded this time, and a woodland kingfisher grooming. bee-eaters aplenty, a carmine, a little bee-eater, and a white-fronted. The smallest bird in the park, a tiny blue waxbill. What an unusual pose for a grey lory, dust bathing, to get rid of fleas and other pests. Adding more colour are the rollers, a lilac-breasted roller, and its visiting cousin from Europe. Flaps up, undercarriage down. A white stork from Europe makes a perfect landing. The big raptors, a tawny eagle, the magnificent marshal, the symbol of Africa, the fish eagle, and the unmistakable bateleur. Dead trees may be useful lookout points for birds of prey, but the living trees and plants of Kruger are as vital to the natural scheme of things as is the diversity of animal species. After all, herbivores, such as giraffes, survive on this diversity of vegetation, as do baboons. A sausage tree provides a ready meal. The kernels are what he is after. This magnificent tree is a jackalberry. It occurs throughout the park, especially along rivers, where it grows to enormous proportions. It's an important tree of the bushveld and provides food and shelter to an amazing variety of creatures. Baboons eat the fruit, sleep and play in the branches. They are actually the tree planters of the park. They move from tree to tree and in the process distribute the seeds to places where they can germinate. Birds also thrive on the vitamin-rich fruits of this tree. Pigeons usually eat dry seeds, but the African green pigeon loves berries. Jackalberry might be an odd name for a tree. After all, jackals are carnivores. But seeds from the jackalberry were found in the jackal's droppings, hence the name. The leopard, too, hardly is a fruit eater, but it will use the jackalberry as a larder or hiding place for its kills. Not always successfully, as this goshawk proves. The dark of the African night requires a special kind of vision, night vision. To give visitors an opportunity for some really special sightings, a recent innovation in Kruger has been night drives with fully qualified rangers. Many predators, including the lion, spend most of their days lolling around in the shade. It is rarely only at night that they become active and get on with the business of being hunters. Scenes like these are rarely encountered by the daytime visitor and are therefore a special treat. The fight for food is never a passive business. It's the toughest who gets the lion's share. These drives also offer the chance to see some of Kruger's nocturnal birds, such as nightjars. The leopard is back at his kill in the jackalberry, where the goshawk earlier enjoyed a free lunch. And following on the heels of the leopard is that perpetual hanger-on, the hyena. The hyena waits below. No morsel that falls to the ground goes undetected. The hyena has excellent night sight. But spotlights make it easier for tourists to see the night creatures of the park. A giant eagle owl uses a control post as his perch and regurgitates pellets of waste formed in his stomach. His diet includes furry creatures, and he has to get rid of the fluff in his stomach in some way or another. A tree frog dreaming another vision perhaps of man's ancient presence in Kruger. Kruger National Park may be just 100 years old, but man has been here for many thousands of years, and this human cultural heritage is now being conserved as well. Perhaps the first visitors to Kruger were the San people, Stone Age hunter-gatherers who recorded their story in the rock shelters. Then there was the Iron Age, and the great citadel of Tulamela has become one of the most important archaeological sites in South Africa. Archaeologists are unearthing a precious account, often recorded in gold, of these ancient South Africans and their history. Traditional thatching, almost an art form that has been practiced for hundreds of years, is being preserved here. And the art of the painted wall, a heritage of the Ndebele people, is helping to keep traditional skills alive. A new vision is to give something back to the park's neighboring communities in the form of raw material harvested from the park and the opportunity to sell home crafts at available outlets. The vervet monkeys don't go hungry in good years, when Kruger's trees are full of fruit. For these youngsters, as for all youngsters, the future belongs to them. But for the future there is a broader picture, a great vision, a vision for all generations to come. 100 years ago, President Paul Kruger had a dream, a vision of a wildlife sanctuary. Today, there is talk of transfrontier conservation areas, and Kruger National Park could well form the core of one of the greatest. A conservation area without fences, without artificial boundaries, where the ancient migration routes were re-established and the great herds could wander at will across the continent. A vast conservation area that not only conserved wildlife, but also protected fragile ecosystems and vital water catchments. A peace park for Africa. Recognizing human needs and nature's vulnerability. Where people and wildlife can exist side by side, in harmony, for all times to come. A vision for the next generation. For the next generations of all living things who inhabit this heritage. A pipe dream? Perhaps not. Anyway, what is a dream but a vision in the making? And the vision lives on.